Hey, you made it! Welcome back. We've got more lessons to do. You can learn about shield dropping. Learn about item reflecting. That lesson's not ready yet. You can learn about shield dropping. It's so cool. All right, let's go. Okay, let's cover some basics about the shield first. Each consecutive time you bring up the shield, you'll lose a bit of your energy bar. You can bring up the shield 5 times in a row, but if you try a 6th time, you'll be out of energy, and the shield won't appear. You'll need to let your bar refill before you can access the shield again. While you do have the shield active, you can hold it for as long as you want without any additional energy cost. Parrying with the shield works basically the same as with any other character, except the shield gives you a little extra insurance if you try to parry too soon. You want to pull up the shield just before the attack hits you, which will stun your opponent and give you the chance to take the offensive. When you're out of energy, you won't be able to parry. You also can't dodge through an attack like you normally would. You can also parry attacks while in the air. Now let's cover shield dropping. Normally, when you use the shield in the air, you'll continue falling slowly as you hold the shield up. But if you do an air dodge and then hold the shield, you can tap down on your analog stick to begin a fast fall while keeping the shield up. This can be really helpful when you're trying to safely reach the ground, or when you're trying to quickly escape from a dangerous upper area of the stage. You could also use the shield drop while the shield is on cooldown, although you'll be wide open to attack as you move. All right, that pretty much covers the shield drop. That's one lesson down. Nice work. Shield drop, item reflecting. Let's go. Your side aerial attacks will reflect projectiles back at your opponents. You can reflect most characters' unique projectiles, like Batman's Batarang, Harley and Morty's bombs, Joker's cards, Raindog's sparkly thing, Velma's text attacks, Gizmo's arrows, Stripe's saw blade, and LeBron's basketballs. Even Rick's laser and Mr. Meeseeks can be reflected. Marvin's plasma ball can also be reflected, but oddly not the weak version of the attack. This is probably because it's not considered a projectile when it's on cooldown. You can even reflect Raindog's Crystal Sentry. Once turned, it'll even continue shooting lightning. There are bigger projectiles that you won't be able to reflect, like Bugs' balloon and his safe. And there are certain attacks that seem like they're projectiles, but they're not, like Black Adam's little zappy attack here. When facing Tom and Jerry, be aware that Jerry himself can only be hit in the air, not reflected. But most of the little projectiles that Tom and Jerry throw between each other can be reflected. Also be careful when interacting with certain attacks, like Joker's hand zapper attack. You'll get shocked even if only the shield touches Joker. All right, you unlocked the final lesson. Let's talk about perks and combos. All right, let's go. Starting with the signature perk, you'll probably want to go with Bounce Bubble. This perk will increase both the hit stun and velocity of your opponents when they're bounced off your shield walls and platforms. This is a critical part of the overall playstyle, so it's the highly recommended choice. The other option is Green Thumb, and will make your Watermelon Steven bigger and stronger over time. This is cool, but isn't really as helpful when compared to Bounce Bubble. For the team perk slot, it's a much less obvious choice. I've been running That's Flammable Doc because it works so well with the neutral air being considered a projectile. Following up a neutral air with a melee attack should be a frequent occurrence, so you'll be getting a lot of extra damage chipping away almost automatically. There are some other good potential options to pick, though. If you want a little extra damage in general, Snowball Effect will give you a 7% damage boost. Press the advantage is similar, applying the weakened status to opponents with really high percentages. The other options are pretty underwhelming, mostly because there's not much extra utility in regards to dealing with projectiles, since you're already able to reflect them easily with side aerials. For the strong perk slot, it's an easy choice. We're going with Collateral Damage, which is going to add 1 additional damage every time your opponent is knocked into terrain. This will synergize perfectly with Bounce Bubble, allowing us to maximize the pinball effect to its true full power. The other options in this slot are fine, but the utility is just nowhere near Collateral Damage, so we're sticking with it. For the final standard perk slot, I like to keep it simple. I go with Pugilist, which offers a damage boost to melee attacks. This is my preferred pick, but you may also find some utility with Armor Killer or Armor Crush, which both obviously help you deal with armored opponents. Static Electricity isn't a great choice because you need to stay on the ground for the effect to activate, and Steven should not be spending a lot of time on the ground. And Clear the Air doesn't give us much added utility because we're already going to be reflecting projectiles. And with that, we have our perks ready. Now before we jump into combos, let's talk about your controller setup. I recommend editing your controller layout so that R1 or right bumper are set to your neutral attack. This will make neutral air a much easier attack to use. You should also change L1 or left bumper to your neutral special for the same reason, making it much easier to throw out. Let's start out the combo discussion by examining Steven's main attacks and how you can expect the opponent to be knocked back by them. First, the neutral air. The neutral air's hitbox is a big 360-degree circle centered around Steven. The longer you hold it, the bigger the radius and the more damage and knockback the attack will do. The opponent will be knocked away from the center point of the attack, so if you're above them, they'll be knocked downwards. A simple starting option is a neutral air from above, which will usually bounce the enemy off the ground and set them up perfectly to be hit again. You can follow up with a down air to spike them back into the ground. Refresh your jump with a fast fall to the ground yourself, and then repeat the process again. For sending your opponent downwards, neutral air and down air will be your best options. For upward knockback, you've got your up tilt, up air, and up special. With the aerial down special, if you make contact while you're riding the shield in the air, the opponent will have horizontal knockback, and Steven will do a backflip into the air. If you make contact while you're riding the shield on the ground, the opponent will instead have vertical knockback. Your side aerial has a lot of horizontal knockback, especially as percentages start climbing. The side special has incredible knockback power, especially if it's charged up a bit. Your down tilt also has decent horizontal knockback, but is on the slower side overall. The dash attack is alright. It can be a good mix-up to throw out very sparingly. Both the dash attack and the cooldown version of the side special attack have pretty good horizontal knockback. Steven doesn't have much in the way of true combos like some other fighters, but the real fun starts when you interact with the shield walls and platforms during attacks. This setup is what I refer to as the bounce shack.
If you go in Steven's bounce shack, you can bet that you won't come back. Bounce shack, bounce shack, bounce shack, Steven's bounce shack. One pink ball and one pink ceiling will contain the damage he's dealing. Bounce shack, bounce shack.
You can set one up anywhere on the stage. The goal of the bounce shack is to launch your opponent up into the ceiling shield. This should begin a chain of bouncing where the opponent is locked in hit stun. Next, you'll want to try and continue the bouncing chain for as long as you can, using either up tilt or up air to keep the opponent bouncing between the floor and ceiling.